Hello everybody and welcome back to another Getting Stuff Painted, my bi-weekly update, give or take, on the miniatures I've been painting for the games we cover here on the channel. And can you tell I've returned to Modiphius's games based on what you have before you? Probably. So we have a few different games to talk about though, but two of them are Modiphius. From left to right we have Dead by Daylight the board game, we have Fallout Wasteland Warfare for the first time in over a year, we have Elder Scrolls Call to Arms for the first time in over a year and a half I think, we have some Marvel Crisis Protocol, and then finally a little bit of Battletech Alpha Strike, well, Battletech in general, to finish on in between breaks for the dog as per usual. She will never stop doing this, she just associates these particular videos with, oh, it's time to play. Alright, camera shifted slightly, let's start and go with the Legion and Meg for Dead by Daylight the board game. The Legion is basically just a dude, so that's why he's not that much larger than the survivors. One of many, just a guy with a knife and a weird looking mask. So very quick to paint up. I am a mixture of Black Templar, Basilicanum Grey, Blood for the Blood God, obviously, because you've got to cover the killers in Dead by Daylight with blood. The mask is just the base coat of Grey Seer. Again, everything here has been done in Grey Seer as the base coat. And for the base, that is Rattling Grime with Agras Earthshade on top, and then just a grass tuft. Super, oh, the trim on his jacket is Nazdrag yellow. It looked gold, weirdly, in the official art for the killer, so that's what I did. And it took like less than an hour probably. Oh yeah, and Skeletal Horde for the bandaged hands. I don't think any skin was actually showing on them. I pointed this out in the original unboxing for Dead by Daylight, I pointed it out in her debut in the series, I'm pointing it out again now. I think it is a genuine error at print that she is not centered. She is very, very off center. If you can imagine her being just like a few millimeters to her left, camera right, it would look so much better with her being direct kind of center of the base. Well, her body would be at least. So I do feel like it's a genuine error. It can't be on purpose, and you know, by the time they noticed it, it's like, well, we can't redo just, you know, just to center her. And if you see her from the sides, it doesn't really matter. But hey, for the OCD amongst you, Meg is there to make you feel very, very uncomfortable. Her t-shirt was Volupus pink with a little bit of trim from Frostheart blue. Jeans are Space Wolves grey. Agras Earthshade over everything. Gilman Flesh is the skin tone used. And again, Rattling Grime. Oh, her pardon me, her shoes are Bal Red. Blanked on the colour there for a second. But yeah, that is Bal Red, and I hope that is good enough in focus. It's a bit hard to tell with these little miniatures sometimes. So yep, that's it for Dead by Daylight. I still haven't gotten started on painting the Oni. I've been prioritising other games, as it might be obvious, so I'm not sure when I'll get around to it. I thought he was basically just entirely red, but that doesn't seem to be the case for his official like base non-DLC skin. So it might be a bit longer to paint. I thought it would have been super quick, but it might not be, we'll have to see. So then we move on to our representation of Fallout Wasteland Warfare, which has returned to the channel. You will already, hopefully, have seen the channel intro slash the season 4 rather trailer slash intro, which is already live at the time of recording this, but I believe this will still go live before episode 1. Yeah, you'll see this before July. So these are not going to be featured immediately, but they are something I put aside once I planned out the season. Okay, what do I want to introduce? I just want to have some like extra enemies for factions I've seen. I want this, this, and this from what I already had available. I just hadn't got around to painting. I was like, I just earmarked everything like, okay, I need to make sure I have these painted before I get to so-and-so an episode. So, starting with, this is sold as a box of, I believe, Super Mutant Skirmishers. They have a bit more armour than your standard Super Mutants just in terms of what they're modelled with. In fact, we'll start with this one. Although they're basically just armed with an assortment of melee weapons. A wrench in this case, a super sledge, and a tire iron, I believe it is. So, they're not armed to the teeth or anything, and it's more just kind of like general junk Super Mutants. They're there to have variance and not just be using the same 3 or 4 from the starter box, which is, you know, what I kept doing. Super Mutants don't feature that much currently, but it's just to have more options. They have different stats. I don't know offhand how specifically they're different really. But in terms of painting, I went back to the old skin tone I used before, which is Militarum Green for the Super Mutants. For the armour, it's just Leadbelcher Silver, and then I used Army Painter Rust as a dry brushing on top to give it that kind of orange rusted look, and I'm always really happy with how that turns out. Agrax Surf Shade over the top of it as well. And the base is Snakebite Leather with a Basilicanum Grey for the stone, and then again, Agrax Surf Shade hides all sins. Speaking of which, you might be wondering, because I always talked about this when I painted Modiphius resin in the past, does it still do the thing, TM? The answer is yeah, it does. You basically have to spray paint them, otherwise you'll just have a struggle and it'll be tedious and really annoying. Who knows why. This Skirmisher pack is from 2018? Yeah, 2018, so that would have been right about the time where it was at its worst. So yeah, I spray painted these and it was still kind of bad in some places. In fact, I think it was like in here on his leg there. Even though I spray painted it, it just wouldn't rest on it at all. So I really struggled to get the paint to actually stay there. And I imagine if I was just to scrape it with my finger a little bit, it would come off. Like it's holding on by a thread. So not great. It's just their resin. I don't know why. But if you wish to combat it, well, one, wash your miniatures, but you should be doing that anyway. Or washing your resin, I should say, in warmish soapy water. But use a spray paint for your base coat. Don't apply it with a paintbrush. Once you've spray painted it and it's dried and fully dried, giving it a light dusting with a paintbrush for don't do it too thickly though, or the base coat will be too thick. But just lightly, just applying it where you think it might be a bit too thin. I think that helps as well. So I didn't find these as much of a struggle as in the past, just by doing it that route. And it is still Grey Seer I'm using, just in spray form. So that's all I really wanted to say about them. I should have really been showing off all three of them while I was blathering, but either way, here is the one with the Super Sledge. I think this is the first model I've painted that has a Super Sledge. Oh wait, no, I think one of the miscellaneous power armors I did in the past did, but it broke. So he's actually just holding the haft rather than the rest of it. But this is more intimidating looking. I made it look like he's already stomped it down on someone once, and hopefully that's apparent with the blood, for the Blood God paint that is splattered on top of it and a little bit kind of on his base there in front of him. Which is nice, very imposing. And then finally, he's in it. This one, trying to make his arms stay on, I was having a bit of a problem with, but I don't know if that's a super glue thing or what, but he's in this really imposing, hard to focus as it turns out, gonna smash you, and then you turn him and he's just got a tire iron. Like if it was a sledgehammer or something, like that would be scary. But he's just gonna bonk someone. It'll still hurt, probably kill them, but it doesn't look as intimidating once you see what he's prepping with such force and ferocity to swing. And again, all the same colours. Oh, for their cloths, I use Basilicanum Grey. That's just to try and match up to the grey rags they're wearing in the official paint job. I think they maybe are meant to be wearing trash bags under the like metal armour they pieced together. I wasn't 100% sure on that. The grey kind of looks like a dried out black paper bag. Oh, the dog might be about to bark. So yeah, yes she is, because there's a dog. One moment, please. Alright, I think she's appeased. She's still a little bit... She's dropped the ball at my feet. She hadn't done that for a little bit, but then seeing another dog outside just made her remember that, oh yeah, I can play with stuff. I didn't have anything else to say about the Super Mutants, so as I bend over to pick up the ball and chuck it real quick, let's talk about this Ice Atronak for Elder Scrolls Call to Arms, because I had this a while back, even though it's a Phase 4, Chapter 4, whatever they call it, that doesn't even have cards available yet. If you remember, a little bit ago I did a special getting stuff painted, I called it like a 0.5 or something, where I just talked about some scenery that I've been painting, because I happened to be doing a bunch of different types of scenery, and in that I did some D&D fire and ice tokens that I added some paint on top of to make them look a little bit better. Well, in theory, make them look better. I got those, as I said in that video, in a sale themed around fire and ice that a UK retailer was doing. This was also in that sale, despite being new, and it was very cheap. So I picked it up. It's back to full price now, for the record. And I thought, you know, I had in mind that I was going to go back to Call to Arms with the viewer verdict in general, just for that one, maybe, and potentially more depending on how it did. And I just painted Iceman last time, so it was fresh in my mind how to do a pretty okay looking ice effect. So I cracked out the Ice Atronak, and here we are. If you didn't hear what I used for Iceman, I would encourage you to go back and just watch that, because I went into detail. But I think I said Talisar Blue is the base paint last time. I meant Frostheart. I'm pretty sure I said the wrong thing for the core blue I built up upon. Once the core blue was on, in this case definitely Frostheart, I applied a little bit of the Draken Shade Blue Citadel Wash into the darker recesses where I wanted it to be a bit darker, including in this, whatever it is. His face is actually tiny, it's up here. And then I gave a dry brushing of Ulthwyn Grey, which is what's giving the like white cracked effect and bringing out the cracks. And just, I really like the miniature. I like how they look in the game. They're very large. They're not even the best one you can get. There's one above that called Storm Atronax. I don't think there's a model for those yet. There might not be for who knows how long. So yep, just because I'd painted Iceman, it was fresh in my mind how to make it look pretty okay. Did that. Again, if you want more details, just go look at me talking about Iceman from last time. And also you can see another example of it done. I think he has a bit more detail on him. He's got more ice cracks like around the top and whatnot, but Iceman had more detail in general, so it might show it off a bit better there. So next up, we have two Dwemer spiders. Dwemer, right? Either way, I did the first one of these a year ago, probably more than a year ago, and I had such a frustrating time with it because of the thing. I didn't want to paint any more of them, so I didn't do them. But with doing the spray paint method, washing them, etc., that I talked about for the Super Mutants, it was easier. I didn't have the thing get in the way as much, and I've actually been replaying Skyrim recently, which is part of what reminded me about the game. So I've been fighting these, so I noticed that they do kind of have crystals lodged in, it's hard to see, in here, and it kind of changes colour and then it shoots out lightning. So I went back to the one I painted and made it look like that, because before it was just Nazdrag yellow with Agras Earthshade, which is what I've done here. But I noticed that in the video game, so I decided to change it. There should be a crystal really with an open hole, but for the ease of them modelling it, they've just done it as like an orb, which is fine. But that just goes to show that I never really treat anything I've painted as being complete. Months, well, weeks, months, years later, I might decide to change something about it, and this is an example of that. So the third one, which I did however long ago, matches these two in terms of having that same, it's Sigurd Burgundy is what I went with specifically, contrast paint wise, just so that they all match. And that means I finally finished that box of Dwemer stuff from however long ago. It doesn't matter, as long as you get around to doing it eventually, your pile of grey shame will shrink. Sure, you're probably buying more miniatures than you're painting, that's normal, but don't let that deter you from maybe one day actually finishing it. Who knows, maybe you'll get there. So on the note of nothing ever truly being finished in terms of what I paint, I might end up going back to changing Doc Ock, because I finished him half an hour ago. So, well, finished. So very much subject to change in terms of him, but this is, in fact I think I just touched a bit of wet wash there. Whoops. So I'll be very delicate and quick with this, because as it turns out he's still drying. But this is the Doc Ock from the Earth's Mightiest starter set, and good grief, he's struggling. Doing his best Elton John impersonation just with how he looks, and honestly a million times better than the original model, so I'm not complaining at all. But, as I say, still a little damp because I literally just finished him. We have Striking Scorpion Green, we have Ironjaw Yellow, we have Rattling Grime for his jacket, we have Lead Belcher Silver for his mechanical arms with non-oil on top. I used Biotan Green Wash in the corners of his suit just to add a bit of definition. Basilicanum Grey for the base with Storm Vermin fur painted over it, and Agras Earthshade in the cracks. And I think that's about it really. Oh, a mixture of Stormfiend Blue and Talisar Blue for whatever it is he's pouring. Also, if you look at it from this side, yeah, he's missing that vial. I think that's me doing that, like I think I misplaced the arm. Like you can't really tell here, kind of. But from here, you definitely can. Like, you can tell that liquid ain't going in that vial. But whatever. I'm not sure if that is just me, like I feel like I put his arms where they're supposed to be, like they look natural to me, but either way. So, oh, and Griffhound Orange for his hair colour, sorry, more about that. So, as I say, hot off the press, Doc Ock. Still got to do both versions of Captain Marvel that come in the starter box, Atron and his drones, the Black Widow, and I feel like I'm forgetting someone else. Nope, can't remember offhand, but I'm almost through that box. Speaking of boxes, I wanted to do the other half of, of the Iceman box, so I painted up Kitty Pride, Shadowcat. Either way. Not entirely happy with the amount of detail they put on her armour, to be honest. Like, for one, it makes it hard for contrast to work with, and just two, it just kind of looks I don't know, it's kind of like Saiyan armor from Dragon Ball Z, but without any of the detail around the chest area, or stomach area I should say, where it kind of breaks the pattern a little bit so it doesn't look boring. I was a little disappointed. Also, the Sentinel arm on her base is missized just slightly compared to the actual Sentinel miniatures available for the game, and that just, it's a tiny thing. It's an OCD thing, but it bothers me. Why didn't they match it up? They have the Sentinel models, the scale should match. Oh well, anyway. For her, I think I used Iron Jaws yellow with a Yandin yellow to add some definition. Storm Fiend blue for the arm, and for, what's his name, Ganymede? I feel like that's not it. I feel like I always get the wrong Knight of the Round Table. Oh, either way. Her pet dragon demon thing, I used Magus Purple, and then I let it dry, and then I did another layer of Magus Purple because it's a really, really weak colour. So that's how I got a little bit more shadow in the wings, just by doing a double layer. But not much else to say about her. Oh, sorry, Krellin Green was for the other bluish green parts of her costume there. Just trying my best to match up to the colours used in the official paint job. In general, it's a fun pose, like just her phasing through a dead sentinel, but don't like her costume. It's probably comic accurate, but I don't like her costume. So I don't have much else to say about her. I just wanted to get that box done so I could recycle all the stuff from it. Didn't have to keep it as a reference. And that's them done. So as I say, I'm still working through the starter stuff now that Doc Ock is done. But in between that, I have the X-Men wave and the Spider Foes wave that I also want to work on. So I'm not sure what will be next. I feel like I've been blathering a lot, so there isn't really much to say at the end here. It's just as a thing, like, oh look, I also painted up some mechs for Battletech, because I just catalogue everything I paint in these videos and hopefully inspire people to get through their painting jobs as well. So we have ourselves a Zeus, and we have ourselves, I think it's a Stalker, right? I keep forgetting if a Stalker is an actual name, I'm pretty sure it is. And they're painted up as my mercenary company, so there isn't much to say about it. What I can say though, is that I do have some duplicate mechs I don't really care about painting up in terms of my mercenary band, like, you know, the Aethermatic Blue and Talisar Blue, etc., the stuff I'm using here. So I am curious, what are some notable, pretty nice looking merc colours for mercenary bands still operating in the Ill Clan era in Battletech? I know that's a very specific question, but I want to have some mechs painted up as a different mercenary band, because I think that'd be a nice thing to have for battle reports. But I don't know enough about what specifically is available in each time. Like, Northwind Highlanders are probably in the Ill Clan era. I don't mean those big name ones. I mean slightly smaller ones that might have a bit more oddball colour scheme, colours you don't see as much, not military colours, but they have to be operating in the current present day that the Battletech world is set in. So if you can help me with that and suggest some, you know, mech colours or you know, mercenary bands I could look up and see if the colour schemes are of interest to me, that would be very helpful. I keep forgetting to mention it elsewhere, so a good excuse to do it here, since I don't really need to talk about the colours I'm using for these, because they're always the same colours when they're my mechs. So nothing much else to say about that, just to show off the Stalker. I don't really like Stalkers, but I am familiar with them from using them in the Harebrained Schemes Battletech game. So for old time's sake, I decided to paint it up, even though, as I say, not exactly a fan of them. Their design, their performance, just not for me, but that's fine. The dog cried a little bit. You're not going to bark, are you? Because I'm about to do my outro, and it's very important that I do my outro for OCD purposes. She's looking for something to bark at. We may never know. You know, I'll get started with it and we'll see what happens. So that is going to do it for another Getting Stuff Painted. That's another, well, probably over 2 weeks, right? Again, I haven't been painting as much. Definitely getting back into it more now with the Elder Scrolls stuff and the Wasteland Warfare things I need to have painted. So I'm doing that. You know, there is one thing I didn't show off in this video. It's something that was briefly in the Season 4 intro video. I'm not going to show off that fully until the season is done. So I can't show you that, but it is a large thing I painted. It's a bit of scenery, but I'm not going to show that off until after the season is done. So there was one more thing technically, and it was large, and it took a little bit. But either way, well, not that long. I hope this inspires you to get through your pile of grey shame. If you want to show me what you've been painting, feel free to do so on Blue Sky, which is linked below, or in my Discord if you're there. I don't mind, you can share what you've been painting. And just in general, I hope it inspires you to get through your pile of grey shame. It does not matter if you're good at it, that'll come in time. It just matters that you enjoy it and, you know, get it done. Crack out the paints. It's nice weather for it, mostly. The dog is looking again for things to bark at, so I will simply say again, thank you for watching, enjoy the rest of your day, and see you next time. Ta-ta for now.